This is Father Gregory Pine.
And this is Father Bonaventure Chapman.
And that's a toad. And welcome to Godsplaining. Thanks to all those who support us. If you enjoy the show, please consider making a monthly donation on Patreon. Be sure to like and subscribe to Godsplaining wherever you listen to your podcasts. Father Bonaventure, the people are asking whether your affection for toads is affected or whether it is in fact genuine. And if genuine, from whence does it come?
Genuine. The depths of my being. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things like if you ask like, why do you like the good?
Yeah,
You're
right.
Like, don't know.
Yeah.
You know, do you want to be happy, but why be happy? And you're like, get away from that robot.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? I don't know. They're just delightful creatures. My sister got me this a long time ago, and apparently they don't make them anymore. This is a Bufo americanus. I think it's named something new scientifically. They're always changing names.
Yep.
But American toad, and it's got
Bufo
the
Snugglyamos?
Yeah, and it's nice. It's from my examples for class and stuff.
Yep.
But like, if it's gonna get ratty at some point.
No,
But
I don't
great.
think so.
There is.
If you show it the kind of care and concern that model train collectors show to their engines, then
Yeah, or
you should
Star
be
Wars
fine.
people in their collections.
Exactly.
Yeah, keep them in the box.
Exactly.
No, can't. It's got to be. Yeah, toads are for using.
You can treat it like a 1952 Mickey Mantle card.
Yeah.
And sell that thing for $6 million
No,
sometime down
we
the
caught
line.
we caught a toad when I was in maybe 8 years old. When I was in 8 years old.
It's a place. It's a
And,
state of mind.
Yeah, it's state of being. When I was in that situation.
Yeah.
And it was maybe it was fourth grade. Yeah, fourth or fifth grade.
9, 10. Let's say you're between 7 and 11.
Yeah, probably that's right. And it was Mother's Day. We caught one in our backyard and like took it to my mom, and she was like, "Get it away!" And it was like Hopper was the name. Subsequently,
Yeah.
didn't come with us like I'm Hopper. And then she that'd have been awesome. But she like
That would
took
explain
another
the
look
love.
at it and petted it and this other thing. And it's like, and we got to keep it. And then I think I've told this story before. That a newscaster came to my brother's classroom and like taped Mother's Day greetings.
Yes.
And most people were like, "Thanks, Mom, for being a great mom. Thanks, Mom, for waffles. And thanks, Mom, for whatever." My brother goes, "Thanks, Mom, for letting us keep the toad." And it's like, I like turtles moment. And it was on like, and they loved that clip so much, you know, that when it was showed on the news that night, that was the lead clip. With
The greater Buffalo
I
area.
could still see blue. I think we talked about this. Someone out there in Godsplaining land, if you can search this sucker and find this thing, Buffalo, somewhere between 1980 and 2014.
Nice.
It's probably in
you
there.
were born in 1982. We said this was between 7 and 11. So let's say 89 to 93.
Could be. 93 seems late. Anyway.
Okay.
So they're great.
92.
Although, someone was just asking, is Toadsplaining happening? But I didn't get any toads this year. So it's like no special guests.
Well, you asked not to. That's on you.
No,
right?
I mean, do not send me the toads. But like not finding one. I thought a student would find one, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. We went on our
hike. We got a
we
toad.
went on our Easter hike and we didn't find a toad.
No, we didn't find one.
Yeah.
So,
Probably the climbs.
yeah.
CILMES. So that actually leads us seamlessly into our ad read for today, which is about toads. So Exodus 90 is gearing up for its St. Michael's Lent. I believe that's what it's called. Yeah, I think that is what it's called. So an ancient tradition practiced by saints of all times and places, especially St. Francis of Assisi, during which time he received his stigmata, where it's a kind of 40-day summertime Lent experience as a way by which to prolong our entry into the church's penitential tradition. Unbelievable. The spiritual guides for this installment will be Franciscan Friars of the Renewal, Fathers Innocent and Angelus Montgomery, who contribute also to the Poco a Poco podcast. So go to exodus90.com to find out more information, also to fact-check the information that I shared, and to sign up in anticipation of August 15th. So it runs August 15th to September 29th. You're going to want to be part of it because it's their second largest seasonal challenge. So there are other things that will happen during it, but mostly winning. By winning?
By winning?
Yeah, exactly. Charlie Sheen were here who would say like, whoa, you can't handle it, but the thing is you can.
Right every wrong.
Exactly.
Right every
Sometimes
wrong.
you got to right every wrong.
Yeah. Especially enemies.
Yeah, so that's the thing with Charlie Sheen, is that he had a lot of enemies. And I suppose we could ask him what he thinks about his enemies and ours. Yeah. But my suspicion is that the response that he would furnish would fall somewhere outside the bounds of the Christian tradition and thereby be less helpful, useful for our listeners.
Yeah.
So we thought that we would just answer the question on our own.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so when you begin thinking about the question of enemies, do you begin, one, enumerating your enemies and making plans for their demise?
Lists.
Or
schemas.
Or two, drilling down as to what an enemy in fact is.
Great question. Yeah. I definitely don't make lists because I'm sure I have enemy. I don't think of, who are, let's just name names.
Is there anyone out there who's like Crucius trash?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, there are a few, but like,
Okay.
it's not worth getting it. Yeah.
Got it.
So there's some guy who thinks like Crucius and the Pietists have no influence on Kant whatsoever.
Are there some people out there who think Dominicans trash?
I think all of us do at some point. I think, no, I mean, yeah, no, I don't know.
What would it take for you to have an enemy?
That's the funny thing. I think it'd be someone.
Are there people out there who slap you periodically across the face without explanation?
Even that wouldn't do it. But
no?
if you were like wandering around setting toads on fire, then you would be my enemy.
Okay. So it's only toad formation.
Yeah, I don't know. This is funny. Yeah, do you have enemies?
I don't think so.
Yeah, this is funny.
But
I guess
maybe that's naive on
Are Christians
our part.
not supposed to have enemies? I don't know.
I feel like if we were politicians, we might have enemies.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's it. So enemies, I take it, when I think about this abstractly, let's do philosophical stuff here, philosophy of enemies. I take it an enemy has to have some disposition, has to be someone who has disposed to or actively engaged in harming you. Right?
Okay.
And I think that has to be...
It can't just be like mild opposition. It has to be like...
I mean, opposition they can be hindering you, I suppose.
Okay.
Like they're disposed to stop your projects or something, right?
Okay.
And it can't be just like accidental, right? So like if I'm walking down the subway or something and someone like trips me and I go, my enemy, like that's not clearly it. Unless
What if they tripped you onto the tracks?
Well, that's the thing.
Or onto the third rail?
Yeah, if he's intending to do it, right? Yeah, because I take it enemying is a human activity.
Yep.
So it has to be like willed. Like when you say like are ants my enemies?
Ants, like
ants, fire ants.
Oh, okay, got it.
Right, like are ants AUNT. Are ants my enemies? No, I love my ants. I'm going to see Aunt Kelly and Linda this summer.
That's awesome.
Science Susan the other week. So yeah, ants are great, but like ants or fire ants or something.
Yeah.
Like spiders my enemies.
No,
no,
because they're not thinking about it. So you think it involves some
I think it's got intentionality. I think it's got to have
involves some opposition or harm.
And some will. Yeah.
Okay, let's think back to the last time during which most people ever have enemies, at least of a conscious or deliberate sort, which I think is high school, right?
Fair enough. Yeah.
So you went to an all-boys Catholic high school.
Yeah.
Before you were Catholic.
That's it.
Did you have any enemies?
No.
Did people
there was
at the
a
school
bully.
have
Does
enemies?
that count?
Maybe.
There was kind of like a bully who
picked on you?
Yeah, but even then in high school, you're like, this is, I mean, what are you doing here? There's no girls. Like, why are we doing this? You know, it's an all-boys high school. Like, who are you trying to impress? And you get uncomfortable, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. But I guess someone trying to thwart your
You also played
progress.
hockey, though. The people who played against you in hockey.
Yeah.
On the other side of the rink.
They're trying to impose, they're hockey enemies.
Are hockey enemies?
Yeah, they're hockey
enemies. Okay, so it's a
They're trying
limited contextual enemization.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, enemization. Yeah. But enemying, yeah. This is enemies. But they're people who oppose you. in your
People who
projects,
oppose
right?
you in an intentional way.
Yeah.
And it's not just a one-time, seems multiple time.
If
Because
it's
enemy
gonna,
seems to be
if
like
it sounds
a
like a
stake.
substantive, and we're giving that is my enemy.
Yeah.
Right? Because you could say like, I am my own worst enemy or something.
Right.
But that's not like
Because you're engaged in
consistently-
extended
'cause-
emotional and psychological warfare against yourself.
Yeah, I take it. Yeah, because
Okay.
you're always hindering your projects.
Okay.
Like I take it, the enemy in the way that the enemy is the opposite of the friend or the lover. Like a friend is one who wills your good for your own sake.
Yep.
So I take it the enemy is the opposite of that.
Right.
Someone who wills your ill.
Yeah.
Right, for
Its
you
own
or
sake
something.
or for
maybe.
his own gain.
Yeah.
For its own sake, that would be like the kind of noble enemy.
Yeah.
To use the reverse side of the noble, the pleasant, and the useful good. You could think about the noble, the pleasant, the useful evil. I know
Yep,
there's
exactly.
a misattribution.
Like this, yeah.
But the perfect enemy is the one who just wants to see your destruction. You can think of like Iago.
Yep.
Vis-a-vis Desdemona and Othello. He's like, I just want to see the world burn before any of us had come to meet the Joker.
From
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
so then you also have like the pleasant enemy who seems to derive enjoyment from the foiling of plans or undoing of persons.
That's
or
right.
then the useful enemy is the person who's just motivated for his own gain.
That's fair.
And
that's
then
right.
if you have to suffer as a result, well,
yeah, you're hindering his plans.
Yes.
So I suppose the useful enemy is thinks that you're his enemy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas the noble enemy is the one who like knows you're not really enemiable, but yet makes you an enemy. Yeah.
Well, here we go. These are my better terms now that I have thought about the distinction between the things that pertain to the
working
good and
it
the things
pure.
that pertain to the evil. Let's say, so enemy of ugliness, no, because then that's subjective and objective genitive.
Mm-hmm.
Enemy qua ugly Enemy qua pleasure, enemy qua use. I think that's what I'm going to say.
Okay.
All right, because like he just wants to uglify.
And ugly, ugly is not like the subjective kind
It's
of
just opposed to beauty,
judgment,
that is nobility. Okay.
Oh yeah, beauty, nobility, good Lord.
So this like, I mean, it's enjoyable just to figure out what things mean, and it's on its own terms. But it seems like the word enemy comes up a decent bit in the Christian tradition.
Certainly.
Insofar as he provides a standard for the limits of love. So you might say to yourself, I'm only going to love up to this extent or that extent. But anytime you try to exclude somebody from your love, the Lord's always saying like, but also, so he says you have to even love those people who are opposed to you in intentional fashion, dedicated to hindering your plans or harming your person. So then this helps us to appreciate the nature of, not like the Christian Project that makes it sound like some weird philosophical school where people wear togas, but it makes us appreciate the evangelical call or like the claim that the Lord has on our life. So then let's think specifically about the Christian approach to enemy treatment. Yes. But it might be helpful to compare that to other approaches to enemy treatment. You start wherever you want.
No, that's good. I think so when you think about, let's say secular and Christian approach, you could say, because it seems like, or natural and Christian approach maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Because it seems like a natural approach would be, I love my friends and I hate my enemies.
Yeah.
Right? I do good for my friends, I do ill to my enemies.
Straightforward.
Right? It seems very, very straightforward.
Yeah.
In a sense of like, what's the purpose of it? I take it's to help us versus them. Right, so there's a sort of externalization of the enemy. The enemy is the one opposed to you and your friends and your projects and your life. So we've got to deal with that. So in this natural approach, you could say, my job is to either defeat enemies, right? Obviously, I don't want enemies. Enemies are a bad thing. No one we expect in heaven and other places. There are no enemies, right? Ideally, maybe hell could be the place that there are no friends. It's all enemies. Okay, it's not like hellions are friends with themselves, but enemies of God, right? They're enemies of everyone, and including themselves.
War of all against all.
Yeah, exactly. It's Hobbesianism. So in the natural approach, you might say, well, obviously we'd like to either get rid of our enemies, like we don't want enemies, so it means I need to get rid of them, right? And we'll come back to that. Christians agree with that, of course, too, but it's a different way. Or since it's probably going to be not easy to do that, given laws, then you can just like manage them, avoid them, tolerate them, just figure out some sort of strategize against them in a way to keep them at a minimum. Like we're going to have enemies, like the poor, enemies are with us always. And my job is to moderate them and to avoid them and to tolerate them and to manage them basically as best I can, like children or something like that. It strikes me that's like the natural approach. It's like I don't want this thing. How do I get rid of it?
Yep.
Kill it? Can't. Laws. So therefore, I'll just kind of manage it by avoiding it or something, right? And we just kind of secular natural person. You head up this kind of group where you hang around with your friends and this sort of thing. Then they have their friends and stuff, and you just get these kind of class stuff, and then we can start Marxism and all this kind of business.
Exactly.
Right. That seems a natural.
Yeah, it strikes me
natural approach because you're trying to protect. I take it you're trying to protect yourself and those around you.
Existentially,
and
relationally.
So it's best to keep it at a distance.
And I think like all of us want to think that we're good. And if you have people who don't think that you're good, they represent a kind of existential threat.
Yep.
It's like, I'm great guy doing great things, great skills, great friends. And then this other guy over here is saying like, no, you're actually
not
turd.
That good.
And then you're like, I have to have some way to account for his presence in my life.
Can't be my mistakes.
It can't be my mistake, so it has to be his mistake. So like emotionally, psychologically, if you learn that someone hates you, your instinctual response is to hate them back, to kind of repel them. Otherwise, their hatred registers in you as a kind of devaluation.
Yeah, it's a sort of projection of we're trying to objectify their evil that they project upon you. It's kind of like that Knight of Mirrors in Don Quixote, right? Where he like shows back the mirror. This is what we do with enemies, right? We say like if you hate me, it must be because of something hateful in you.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like there might be some of us who are inclined to negative thinking or catastrophizing, and we're inclined to attribute all manner of evil to ourselves, but most of us are born egotists. We like tend towards proud and envious comportment as just a matter of fallen course.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we'll say either whatever he has against me, it's a misperception or it's a misattribution or he's just a bad dude or whatever. We have ways of trivializing it or of setting it aside. And having the label enemy or having the category of enemy is a helpful way in which to clear mental space lest we have to confront whatever it is that they've said, regardless of percentage of truth or.
Yeah, I think this is with like family dynamics, you could say. this is why it's so hard in a family, because you can't enemify. You can't make one of your family members really an enemy. It's because they're not.
Yeah.
Right? And fundamentally, your family members, those who are closest to you, are not your enemies. They're a part of you.
Yeah.
With family, so you can't do the cool trick. Whereas if someone like says something bad about you in a comment box or something, you can be like, "Whoop, I guess that's one of those enemies."
Exactly.
Yeah. Those are those are the black hat guys.
Person.
Yeah.
Find his address out, post it to the internet.
Yeah.
So apropos of enemification, I think that who knows how this age compares to past ages, because I have no historical knowledge. But it seems like whereas maybe in former years we just said like, hey, these are our lives. We are in relationships. The question is, will we contribute willingly to those relationships or unwillingly to those relationships? Now it's like all of our relationships are up for grabs, or so it seems to us. We can like kind of ditch toxic persons at the drop of a hat, or ghost individuals who by their texting patterns show themselves intolerable. And so I think that enemification is at an all-time high. Again, no historical knowledge, but it's very easy for us to set people aside or to set people apart.
Well, it's nice to put a label on what we call polarization, in the political discourse in America, for instance. And it's because I think everyone feels the minute you say those are enemies, you've got to say to yourself, well, but are they really? Right? You can say we're polarized. And it's like, okay, fair enough. Who cares? Like different sides on things. But you say, well, I think there's a lot of enemies out there, and we're making a lot of enemies.
Yep.
And you might think like, oh, well, I don't want that. I wonder if that's realistic. Is that true? Is it really true that that other person is my enemy? And then it starts to ask like uncomfortable questions of, actually, you're making the enemy more than the enemy is actually the enemy.
Yeah.
But I think it's nice to put a label on that as you register the kind of polarization factor as being an
Enemization? Yeah.
An enemifying function of the human structures.
Yeah. Yes. Nice. And this is also like, I mean, you're a master of the Hegelian dialectic. This is also the way in which we come to understand ourselves in part. If you want people to give you a compact or coherent definition of who they are and what they're for, like say you've got an organization, let's say a university. It's like, hey, what's distinct about your product? A lot of people have difficulty saying exactly what's distinct, but they can tell you how they differ from other comparable products. Yeah. So like we set ourselves off and come to an appreciation of what we are in turn.
Omnis determinatio est negatio.
There you go. Yeah. So I think enemification also gives us a sense of our righteousness, of the justice or like justness of our cause.
That's fair.
And it's like, so it's also a way by which to buoy ourselves up, because I suspect that many of us think that our lives don't really matter that much and our projects don't really matter that much. But if we have enemies, well, maybe I'm wrong, but if we have enemies, then like we're clearly fighting for some kind of cause, and that puts wind in our sails.
Yeah, it's true. Yep. Yeah, you can't have an enemy if you don't have a cause and someone actually opposing your projects. Yeah. So that's the natural way, it seems like to me. Yeah. To deal with it.
So then I was also thinking another way in which to categorize this is the pagan way and the Christian way, because I mean the Lord describes it as such.
The natural way,
Yeah, natural way, supernatural way. But I
think that's right.
How then do you broach the topic?
Well, the supernatural way is tricky, right? Because so the natural way, the pagan way we're talking about is love your friends, hate your enemies. Pretty straightforward, right? Yeah. And then, but the Christian way, and it's so simple, right? And in some ways our society has been developed upon it, but it's still... It's the hard thing to get rid of, is the difficulties of living it out, is you love your friends and you love your enemies, right? And Christ says this sort of thing, and everyone thinks, you could go into the dialectic, right? First you're like, that's crazy, and you think, well, maybe it's okay, but then you're going to swing back and go, but really deep down, like does that mean like I need to hug every convict, or like this person's like, give me your money, and you're like,
you can't hug every convict,
and you're like, take everything,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Here's my tunic.
I'll take you to my house and we'll get stuff. Do you need a cup of coffee?
Do you need a plasma screen TV?
Yeah. Or like, like this you get these beautiful examples of like, there's been crimes committed against a family and the family forgiving the person, and then the person going, cool, I guess I don't have to go to jail anymore. And the state's like, no, you're still going to jail. And you're like, wait a minute, but Christians forgive, right? So you have this like, you can get this sense of, well, okay, everyone says loving your enemies, that's cool. Jesus does radical things, therefore that's a radical thing. Therefore that's great. We should be in favor for that. But then the rubber meets the road when you say, what is he actually calling for? Yeah. Like, what does it mean to love one's enemies? It can't mean, for instance, just saying no one's my enemy as some guy's like hitting you, and he's like, "No, I seriously am.
Yeah,
like,
that's why I'm hitting you, to show you that I'm your enemy.
I'm taking your car. I don't want
catalytic converter gone.
I'm gonna lie about you in the workplace, and I'm to protect myself from the mistakes I made. And you're
beyond repair.
You are my friend. And
yes.
It's like everything can't be.
I'm currently poisoning your water.
Yeah, everything can't be the what's the Flannery O'Connor? A good man is hard to find.
Yeah.
Right, like
she would have been a saint if somebody were always there to hold a gun to her chest.
Yeah, exactly. Like most of us don't. So it can't. So it sounds radical and right to love your enemies, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, but what does it mean to love your enemies? Are they still enemies, but is it a different relationship with them, or is that supposed to bring them out of being enemies?
Mm-hmm.
Is it supposed to? Sometimes I take it to get you to reflect on the fact that they're not really your enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is one of those. What do you do with enemies? Well, you can pray for those you think are enemies. And it's just hard to pray for someone to will their good and still be opposed to them in some fundamental way.
Okay, so I think we should make a distinction between the people who are opposed to us permanently, so let's say Satan and his demons,
right,
and the people who are opposed to us semi-permanently.
Yeah.
Let's say like Satanists currently here on the surface of the earth.
Okay.
All right. So I think that there are different, as it were, strategies in love of enemy, but I think that it comes from a higher synthesis. The idea being that we're called to love, but that we're called to love within an organic body, the mystical body.
Yeah.
So it's like same blood flows through our veins and theirs, at least potentially. Let's say they're not in a state of grace. Let's say they don't pertain to the church at present in any way, shape, or form. Nevertheless, they could. And so our love is testimony to that possibility and actually cause of its eventuation. So the idea is that God has given us his love with which to love, and insofar as God calls them potentially sons and daughters, so too ought we, brothers and sisters. Basic formulation.
Yep.
So they remain enemies on the natural plane, but then we have access, a privileged access, to the potential for their non-enemification on the supernatural plane. And then we're given the resources whereby to overcome the obstacles posed by the natural plane.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's the refusal to see them as necessarily enemies in our human capacity. Like it's to see the possibility of them actually being our friends.
Yeah.
Right? Because in a sense, the hard work of that, this is the Christian claim on the cross, right, has reconciled or provided the reconciliation such that it's possible that they actually partake of the body of Christ with us, such that we are no longer an us versus them, but rather we and us together. They joined that group, right? And that's a deeper sense of their identity, that they need not be enemies. It's only contingent for them that they are enemies, but that they have the capacity to be one with us. They have the capacity to go from enemies to friends, not by any sort of strategy, but just by our love, because it's in them to do that.
Yeah.
That's possible.
So then St. Thomas will say, in effect, we are called to love our enemies because we're called to love everybody, and there's no grounds for exclusion of another human being from that love, at least while that person is on the surface of the earth. And we don't know as to the identity of anybody in hell at present. Except for the Satan and his evil minions. So the idea is that you're called to love. It's a universal call to love.
Yep.
And that enemies fall within the bounds of that universal call to love, and there's nothing sufficient to exclude them from that universal call to love. But then, like you said, you can't hug every convict. All right. You can't physically hug every conflict because we're limited to this time, to this place.
That's right.
So then the question is, which enemies am I supposed to love? And St. Thomas will say, we need to be prepared in spirit to love this or that enemy when called upon to do so. But how do we recognize the opportunity?
Yeah, well, I think also, so this is the flip side of the dispositional issue. We started with the sense of an enemy has to be intentionally disposed to or acting against you, right? And we could say, like, we as friends who love enemies have to be disposed to. So not just like if forced to, we'll love that person, but disposed to love that person if given the particular circumstance such that loving would be for their good.
Yep.
Right? So in a situation where you have criminals, for instance, the judge loves the enemy, right? The person, enemy of society, the judge stands in a particular relationship to society, but loving that person does mean, of course, enacting justice, right, for that person, because it's good for that person to have this sort of thing, assuming that all the other conditions have been met for such a meeting out of justice. But for us personally, since most of us aren't judges, I suppose, it's the inner disposition to be open to someone actually being a friend, someone who is on our side as opposed to opposed to me, right? The kind of sense of existing in the world amongst those who are on board with me or in line with me or have similar projects, right? Because they're all persons seeking God in some capacity. And it's that they don't yet know it. So it's not so much they're an enemy of me, qua me, right? They're an enemy of themselves, qua their own kind of hindrance to the good life, I take it, right? If they were doing this podcast, it'd be a different story, of course. But for those of us who have Christian revelation and try to live it out, we do know the truth of what people should be. And so their enemies really more to themselves. And that allows one to move from like a stance of vengeance or something, or like stance of against, as we're to more like a doctor's stance, a sense of trying to help someone, right? A sense of pity, a sense of mercy, right, to the enemy. And I think that's when, and it's hard to do because, of course, passions get, inflamed in us. But if we believe in the teaching of St. Thomas and the Church, then they're most enemies to themselves, right? And God wants them to be reconciled to themselves and to us. And we have to be disposed to do whatever seems prudent and right in the situation to do, which doesn't mean everything in your power at any given moment if you have other obligations and such.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm sure you can come up with some concrete cases of
I think
what this would look like in the average person's ordinary procedure of what it means to keep the enemies down and hope to love them.
Yeah, so we're kind of coming to the end of our time, but I think it is helpful to end with like a thing or two that's especially concrete, not to say that what we've said up to this point hasn't been concrete. But the title is How to Love and Defeat Your Enemies. So I think that just the consideration here as to the order of justice and the order of mercy is helpful. Because it's like in justice, we are, inclined to vindication. Let's say that somebody steals your property. I mean, like, let's say in this case that you're a householder. Let's say that you're married, you have 5 kids. And like somebody comes and steals the catalytic converter from your car.
Oh, it's
and let's say
Portland, Oregon. Okay.
Yeah, bingo. Police officer discovers the culprit 2 hours later. And now you have the opportunity to prosecute. And you do. You sue for damages because you don't have a bunch of extra doubloons hanging around, or galleons, or ducats for that matter.
Yeah.
And then you proceed with a criminal trial. Now, given this particular jurisdiction, it's not going to eventuate much beyond community service, but you can insist upon that. All right, so that's completely appropriate in the order of justice, and in that way, you've defeated your enemy. You foiled him who attempted to foil you.
Yep.
But then the Christian is called beyond to a certain mercy. Now, it might not make sense for you to kind of come together in a common life with a man whose sole interaction with you has been stealing your catalytic converter.
Yeah.
But there might be ways in which, on the basis of this experience, you go forth in mercy. So mercy is a virtue, but it's a virtue which flows from charity.
Yeah.
And it specifically sees an individual in his miserable state, and it does what lies within one's power to lift him from that miserable state because it wounds you at the core of your person, and because it calls forth love.
Yeah.
And so you might become more involved in community service and community building and try to create spaces in which persons who are tempted to similar type crimes might find professional development or healthy outlets or whatever it is. You know, so it's like you could just sit in your house and just prosecute everyone who transgresses the bounds of your shareholding. Or you could go beyond and do what lies within your power to build up the common good, not just in a secular sense, but in a Christian sense. So that'd be like one instance. I don't know if you have final thoughts.
No, final thoughts are I take it we've been doing some objective work on enemies and non-enemies and friends and such, but I think there's a psychological dimension to it that because I think we can be scared of other people taking things. We could be kind of justice monsters, as you say, like got to make sure everyone gets the right things and make sure that everyone gets what they deserve, all this kind of stuff. Or we just want to be safe. Like we're just worried about the future, we're anxious or something. These are all fallen aspects of a fallen condition that ramify across our own psychological life and things. Yep. And making enemies and seeing people as enemies as opposed to seeing them as enemies of themselves first and foremost and just lashing out at us or something. I think that reframing psychologically helps one to mitigate the fact that there are enemies out there, because you might actually just be projecting enemies when there aren't really people who dislike you, right? Most people are thinking about themselves a lot more than thinking about you, so they're probably not thinking about you that often. But secondly, it allows us to interact with people going to them as opposed to like shielding from them.
Mm-hmm.
So even someone who is against you or seems to be against you or something, chances are if you're doing the right things, if you're being a just and honest and good and virtuous person, you will get people who are opposed to you at certain points or don't like you. But to remind yourself that they're more opposed to their better selves and what they could be and their own selves, and that calls for a sense of pity and mercy to them, as you say, not only structurally in the sense of what projects you might do, but just in the way you interact with that person.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that'll bring them around. The power of the cross, it is powerful, right? But even just the starting point that these people aren't really after you, they're after themselves and they think they're after you or something. It gets you to open yourself a little bit to them, and maybe that's all the space that in some of them they might need.
Yeah. Which doesn't mean that you're going to like baby them. It doesn't mean that you're going to mother them. It doesn't mean that you're going to condescend to them, but it does mean that you're going to love them, which
is beyond. I mean, I like that point from justice and mercy. Justice and mercy is being from charity, not like a part of justice, but rather something that goes beyond that. Yep. So you can say like, this is unjust. That's true, but I'm being merciful to you because someone's been merciful to me.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. As the Lord makes known. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Godsplaining. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, whether on your podcast app or on YouTube. If on YouTube, it's a little decision tree here. Push the little bell, and then you get notifications. About things that come out on the channel. That'd be awesome if you got random notifications about random things. Like Father Bonaventure is thinking of toads. It's like, holy smokes. Maybe we can set those up. Thanks for the suggestion, folks. Also, you'll find links in the description and or show notes, which can lead you to Godsplaining merchandise, Godsplaining's Patreon page to support the podcast. We're super grateful. Godsplaining events. One event that you won't find on that page, but you will find in real life, is the Dominican Rosary pilgrimage to be held at September 27th, 2025 in Washington, D.C. at the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. It's an all-day affair with 2 extended sermons, plenty of time for adoration and confessions in a variety of languages, and praying of the Rosary together, a lot of the Rosary together, and then a vigil mass with sweet preaching, and then a Hillbilly Thomas concert. So it's going to be a wild affair. You should come on down, as Bob Barker once said many times. So I think that's all we got for you. And know of our prayers for you. Please pray for us, and we'll look forward to chatting with you next time on Godsplaining.
Father Gregory, say something in Latin.
Oremus pro invicem.
Father Gregory, say something in French.
Moi, je m'appelle Grégoire.
Father Gregory, say something in German.
Ich bin hier, einen Podcast aufzunehmen.
Father Gregory, say something.
Something.
Subscribe to Godsplaining.